All I want in this world is to see Oppenheimer.
We're really close.
This isn't so bad.
I don't think
dude.
me and Austin have ever been this
Yeah,
close.
you've got
end spots are nice.
Yeah, and well, you've got the better end spot too, because Levi got really close.
Because Levi ruined it.
I guess.
Are we going to see the Barbie movie?
I'm literally just on the other side.
Austin, are
of
you
the
going to see
crack.
the Barbie movie?
Quiet for the clap.
Not in theater.
Yeah.
Not in theater, but you will see it.
Roll the intro.
Evening, officer. Is something wrong?
Just keep your hands where I can see them. Routine traffic stop. We got reports of someone driving under the influence. You know anything about that?
No, I'm only under one influence.
What's that?
The influence of Jesus.
It's time for Under the Influence.
Yeah, we don't want to do anything to scare your children.
Ants. You guys seen that? Ants. Under the Influence, audience. Welcome back to another episode. I'm your one and only host, Jude Crane, joined by my feeble and smaller co-hosts, Jerry Crane, Levi Thiessen, Byron Thiessen, and a special guest, Austin.
We're not even strong enough to say
He
our
doesn't get a
names.
last name.
I didn't know if you were comfortable with me sharing your last
do you
name.
have a last
We have
name?
a lot of viewers.
I don't care.
Do you have any enemies?
He
No.
he wasn't that he was saying he
Ton of
doesn't care
enemies.
about us sharing his last name. You went. We have a lot of viewers, and he goes, I don't care.
I don't care about your viewership.
We've been on bigger platforms. Okay, I'm
You're
Austin.
irrelevant.
Austin
Do you know my last name?
Zahn, but I was trying to think of a better Z one, like Ziegler or Ziegler.
Nope.
No, there's no other Z ones. Austin Zahn. Look him up.
Yeah, look him up. Thank you for being here, dude.
Yeah,
Welcome
thanks for
back to
having
another
me.
episode of Under the Influence, the official Christian
ready to move
Influence
on.
podcast. There we go.
Okay, yeah. Thanks for being here, dude.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. First guest of season 3. You're the first on video guest that we've ever had.
That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it should be. No, we're obviously excited to be doing video now, and this is our 5th episode of it, and I think it's been fun. The first episode is officially now edited and ready to go. Yeah. Hasn't come out yet, obviously, but it's 6 days away from release, so that'll kind of date things for people so they know how far out we've been recording this.
We are.
But as you'll notice, this is how guest episodes are going to look. So we'll still have somebody sitting over here, and then the 4 of us get to share the couch, and it's nice and smushed.
It's nice. Warm.
Yeah. It is warm.
It is.
It's a very
warm
day.
day.
Hey,
Yeah.
count your many blessings, because it's going to get worse.
It's true. It's gonna
When
get
we
worse.
record during the summer just with audio, we would be sitting over there, and it would
Just
be so...
drenched
Yeah.
in
So-
sweat because we can't have any fans running.
No.
Yeah.
So
We need to figure that
this is really not that bad.
I'm glad we're recording today because tomorrow it's supposed to be like 90.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's gonna be awesome.
And for those of you watching in, other areas of the U.S., that's a lot for us. 90's
Yes.
quite a bit,
Dude.
Like Mikey
Here in
Noodles in the Discord
Nondescript
was saying,
Pacific Northwest
yeah,
state.
the other day he was like, man, it was like a little rainy and 65. It's so cold. And I was like, that sounds really nice.
That sounds
great.
beautiful.
Yeah.
70s starts getting hot.
Because it was snowing in like the end of March this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spring finally just showed up.
I
But
remember
then
the
it hit
first
hard.
time within a few months that we got a day that was like 65 degrees. I rolled my windows down.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
oh shoot, it's 65.
Yeah.
I was
great.
like, I was listening to the Beach Boys. I was driving like up and down.
Summer's here.
Yeah, that's what it felt like.
Sunglasses on.
And then today, when I left work, I just like windows down, music blaring, and I was like, man, it feels like summertime,
It's nice.
but it smells like spring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's supposed to rain next week.
And then
Yeah.
it's gonna rain next
All
week.
goes gray.
But that's fine. I like the rain. It doesn't bother
So
me.
do I.
Yeah.
But
It's fine.
But
But I
it's just
don't
when
want
it's like freezing cold,
Yeah, I don't
basically, and
want-
rainy.
39, 42 degree
You
light
want that?
rain. I don't.
Or
I
no?
want heavy, hot rain.
Heavy, hot rain.
My favorite rain is
Gross.
hot, humid, heavy, like walking outside and feeling each drop because they're like that big.
So Florida.
Yes.
Yuck.
I want to go to Louisiana,
Arizona was horrible.
Arizona. Do
When
they
it,
have
when it
big
rained,
rains?
it was so rough. But the thing is, like, it's not just like weird because it was warm and it was like massive raindrops. because here we get like really small ones most of the time. It was massive raindrops, and then the smell. It wasn't. It wasn't like the regular smell that you smell, like the nice smell of rain, like the first rain, petrichor.
There's petrichor. I was gonna say, there's a
Petrichor?
name for
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, it's petrichor.
What is petrichor?
Is the smell of the first rain after a long
that's
drought.
cool.
I didn't know that.
But in Arizona, it was just like synthetic smell.
It wasn't real rain.
It smelled
government.
incredibly fake, and it like sent shivers down my spine. Like
This is
it
an
was
intense feeling.
Yeah.
It was so strange. I couldn't stay outside during that, and it was just like, it was the weirdest thing. I hated it.
The native Arizonians, is that what they're called?
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I'm
the
pretty sure that's called
Arizors?
Grav petrichor. That's the first smell. That's the smell of the first rain when it's on an Indian burial ground.
All the native Arizonians were just like looking over, and you were like, just awful. I wonder if part of what makes it better here is because we have so much
Oh,
greenery.
there's one of
Yeah.
them Oregon freaks.
Exactly.
You're just like burning.
There's the smell of the
Just
green
seizing
and
on the
healthy
side of the
soil.
Don't smell
Well,
like
everyone
that
else
down
is like, oh, it
Well,
smells like
literally-
the first rain.
All of the grass there was just turf.
here. Yikes!
Like it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was very strange.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible.
But
Terrible.
you could fall on that a lot easier than like.
You fall a lot.
Yep. Yep.
That's why you wear that helmet.
A big pro of being down there was you could fall basically anywhere. It's fine. Some days I didn't even have to wear my helmet.
Like in the street.
Some days I didn't even wear my helmet.
Did it smell bad? Is that like the asphalt?
Dude, I don't
Feels
know.
like the
It's
synthetic-
like you could smell the concrete because it's like it's all concrete and turf,
Smell like sulfur.
and then like sand, clay.
Dude, you're really dunking on Arizona right
No,
now.
I'm
all
dunking
of
on the
Arizona.
GCU campus.
Okay.
That's
more
where I was
specifically.
going. like,
Because the
while I was in
people from
Arizona.
Arizona just are right now like, it's not that bad.
And it was so weird, like literally getting off the airplane and like going there, like it was so hot, first of all, so dry. And then like looking out the window, anything that was green, like there would be like a little shrub or something, and it was like this dark, like not even actual green. It was like it didn't feel green because it was all just like, you know, in the movies when they go to Mexico.
Yeah.
And they put that yellow.
Sepia tilt.
Yeah.
Tint on everything. Yeah.
yeah.
Tilt. Wow.
They put that tint on everything. It was like that, like IRL. Like
But it's
that's
dark.
how it was. So all the greens didn't look the right color. Like of the shrub bush every like 100 feet.
If GCU like has a podcast,
Yeah.
we're making enemies.
Ooh, yeah.
We gotta watch our step.
Yeah.
'Cause
I didn't think it was that bad when I was there, but I was only there for 2 days
Yeah.
on that.
I was
like,
also
visit.
all alone, and this was like my first like dunking into the deep end, knowing no one, having to like get a taxi on the side of the street,
Yeah.
and then it was just like,
It's all dead.
Have we ever talked about this on the podcast? How you went to GCU by yourself?
Slumdog Millionaire.
yeah, for like, no, I don't think that we have.
No?
Yeah, I went to GCU. It was a terrible experience, like for me.
I remember when you left, we were all sad because the rest of us were going like Shemekada or OSU for the most part, and then you were leaving, so we had a little going away party, and then you were back 2 terms later. Or did you stay a whole year?
Dude, I stayed 1 semester. It
No,
was-
that's right.
I just, it was rough.
We still played D&D while you were gone, though, and
Yes.
we set up
Yes,
that
we
like.
Skype.
So we set up this.
Bad.
I found
so
online
hard.
a small little like dome-shaped magnet thing
Yeah, that's right.
that I glued to the ceiling, and it was a fairly tall ceiling, and glued it like that,
It's
and
like
then
one
I
of the old phone.
yeah,
Oh, okay,
like
yeah,
what you
yeah.
would mount your
things.
phone with, but it was
Yeah.
just a dome-shaped thing, and then it had another like socket that you could put on your phone, and I glued that to like an old phone case, and then we used a laptop on one end for other people to be able to see him, and then I would put my phone up there, and then Skype in, and that would
And then
that would
the
be
two
his battle map.
screens of
Yeah.
the battle
Yeah.
map, and then one sideways of everyone at the table.
It worked all right, actually.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
pretty
yeah,
good.
yeah.
Before the days of Zoom.
I had to do the same thing because had a D&D party going 2021-ish.
Okay.
And like I think I got sick one week, so I was gone, and they like had a computer set up, and then when there was combat, someone would pick up the computer and like turn me towards the map. So I was like, okay, this is what's going on. Where do you want to move, and what do you want to do?
Funny.
All things considered, we had actually a really good setup. Like Levi had better than most people would just be like, you'll be playing theater of the mind, or we'll try and tell you what you can do. But
Yeah.
There were times when like the graphics would like mess up on the phone.
Yeah.
So all of the lines would just disappear.
Yeah.
So I'd have to be like, I'm guessing that's about the right distance.
Yeah.
But the one thing that was rough about the like playing D&D with you guys was in general is just getting talked over. It was like that's what it's like to play with me. I was like,
Little self dunk right there.
Yep.
well,
I don't think that
over
happens.
Skype, like
Not as much.
it's
Playing with you, I don't think that happens very much.
Oh.
You talking over people?
no.
I think with 8 people now playing, it just happens with everybody.
It happens with everyone.
But I mean, I know that I used to like talk over people a ton. I've tried to work on it.
Yeah, I think you're fine. We have done a D&D situation like that since too, where after Discord had come out, and it was way easier because
Discord's
we could have a headphone in everybody's ear, with like a Bluetooth headphone, and so they had that person that was on Discord in their ear.
Yeah.
And then we used, we just had like a webcam that we would just do that with, and it worked pretty well.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
We had a guy at Theater of the Minding from like his what do you call it? His supermarket job. Like
That's
walking
true.
through the walking through the aisles. He's just listening to D&D, have himself on mute, and then unmute himself, say like what he wants to do in it, and then mute himself. Keep
Really?
going around.
yeah,
Yeah.
can't say who, but
Yeah.
Okay.
we
Yeah.
can't say who.
I don't know if
I know.
said person like
Oh,
could
that's
get in
right.
trouble or something.
I know
They
who
work
you're
at the
talking
White
about.
House,
Yeah.
They're Secret Service.
but I won't say who. But they do work at the White House.
Yeah. They're like the president's talking to them, all of a sudden he's just like, I want to shoot him with a bow and arrow. What did you just say?
The president's talking to It is the president.
Yeah, we play with President Joseph Biden.
I want to talk to the shopkeeper. Wow, what a steal! That's a great little.
Joe, we're in the middle of the
Oh my gosh, are those babies?
How old is the shopkeeper? What does he smell like?
There's an AI D&D. Have you seen this?
Yes.
Where it's like Joe Rogan, Donald Trump, Elon Musk, Joseph Biden.
That's awesome.
And,
I haven't seen the D&D one.
Oh, it's really funny.
I've seen a really good one that takes Master Chief Murak, the dragon that you made, also from Skyrim,
Parthenax?
the black one,
Alduin?
Alduin, and the guy from
Dagothur.
Destiny.
Wait, the dragon that I made?
Dagothur. Yeah. And the guy from Destiny.
When did I make?
In art class, he made like a.
Oh, I did. Yeah, an Alduin. I didn't make. Yeah, whatever.
You made Alduin.
No,
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
made
Design.
Alduin in our
Nice.
home ec class.
You might be a sound guy, but
Jerry's a
I'm-
video game graphic designer.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah, for Tom Howard.
You played video game before?
Todd Howard.
A couple times.
Austin played video
brother.
game.
Austin played video games
Austin
quite a bit.
played video game.
Yeah.
Austin played video game.
No, it was. We were doing an art project in high school that was. You had. I'm sure you did it at some point. In
Crayons?
Ferguson?
Probably.
Where you put the
crayon
crayons and you melt them.
Yeah.
And what I did was I put like fire colored crayons, so red, orange, and yellow. I guess you said that on the edge of the mouth of a dragon silhouette that I cut out, and then I had put like the silhouette of mountains in front of it, and then I used the hot air to make it look like fire was like shooting out. It was fun. I think Joel still has it.
It turned out pretty well.
I was happy with it.
I did one that was the Dragonborn from
Yeah.
the poster, and then out from it was like purple and blue
Yeah.
or something. My
Art
mom
class
and
is fun.
someone was like hanging that up.
I never got to do it.
Me neither.
You never got to do it, or you never had to do it.
I never. Either way.
It depends on how you see it, I guess.
Yeah.
Either way, never got to do it. Never had to do it.
I don't even remember what I did for mine.
You guys locked out. Right
Yeah,
below
I
me.
don't know why I remember so clearly some of those things. Some of those art projects were fun.
Some of them, yeah.
Yeah. All right, real quick. So last week, obviously, Austin, you weren't here, but we talked about astrology quite a bit, and we referenced a video. We're gonna watch it here. leave it up to Tim to put it in if he wants, but the audio is fine enough. The video isn't really that important, so he can put that in editing, or the listener will just hear it. But it's just funny. So Levi and I talked about this last week. That's why we're gonna watch it.
Macaulay Culkin?
It might as well be.
It looks like it.
It kind of looks like if you took Macaulay Culkin and his brother and mixed them,
put them
you'd get
together.
this guy.
I like Macaulay Culkin's brother.
Does anyone here believe in astrology? You do? Can you guess what sign I am based on my personality? Just guess. Yell it out. Cancer, that's wrong. I'll give you 11 more guesses. Libra's wrong. Do you still believe? I'm a Scorpio. I knew it! Yeah, it makes so much sense after I say it. You want to know the best part? I'm not a Scorpio. I betrayed you like a Scorpio would. But in fact, I'm a Virgo. There we go. How do they not get it? How can you be that proud of yourself?
That's it. We just referenced it last time, and I just think it's so funny. Because we were talking about this, obviously, how it's weirdly coincidental often, how sometimes people will get it right, but then other times they're just like, it always just happens to be whatever you say is so perfectly what they think, or whatever. I don't remember what we were talking about, but I just think it's funny. How he tricks them, dupes them, like a Scorpio would.
How can you be that proud of yourself?
That's the kicker. How can
So
you?
funny.
I like how he just turns and goes, how do they not get it? It's just funny. But yeah, that's it.
Classic.
Absolute classic.
What star sign are you, Austin?
I have no idea.
Well,
You don't know?
you're in the wrong.
You
you're
were
in the wrong
never
podcast.
curious?
I think it might be Sagittarius,
Sagittarius.
but
What month were you born in?
December.
December?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, then I have no idea.
Well, it's two of them for sure. One
Yeah,
or two of them.
there's
Yeah,
two that
it's-
cover December.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I know Sagittarius is one of them. I just don't
Well,
know if it's
shoot.
the right one.
I bet.
I knew it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
I was gonna say Aries
God of War.
No.
or Scorpio.
Scorpio.
And if those weren't it, I had 10 more
Scorpio
guesses.
Yeah,
Yeah,
10 more
10 more
guesses
guesses.
lined up. Yeah.
No, we had an interesting discussion about it last time, though, just about how we as believers should possibly react to it, and I don't know, I found it to be intriguing. It's something I've thought about the majority of the week since then, just about like how our conclusion kind of to the whole discussion was it's another one of those things that we think that maybe Satan uses to distract people from God by using God's creation. You know,
A
and
good example of how people just get lost in the wonder of the creation rather than the creator.
yeah, the machinations of the creation.
Machinations.
Wow.
It's a cool word.
It is a good word.
The machination of creation. It rhymes.
It does rhyme. Put that on a tea mug.
On a what?
A team.
Tea mug.
Shirt,
Who says tea mug?
t-shirt, or a mug.
Because you specified tea mug first and then said t-shirt. Now I'm imagining it's a shirt that you wear while you drink tea.
Yeah. I just can't speak. I'm having
Isn't
a
that all
stroke.
shirts?
No,
No, specific shirts.
you need a t-shirt. Oh,
Nope.
what was that?
Shoot, the ghosts with the lamp.
They telling us something?
Are they?
Frank?
Uh-oh, it's the same old...
Frank's got a letter for us.
So early.
You're in for a treat. I didn't think he'd do this 2 weeks in a row.
grip on this letter.
2 weeks in a row, Frank has delivered a letter to
Frank left a little...
us. A little gunk on
little
there.
schmutz on the...
Oh, Frank.
Frank left a little schmutz on the
ectoplasm.
letter.
Just a little ectoplasm.
Oh, shoot, Frank, is this a joke?
You're in for a real treat because Frank,
Frank loves
2 weeks in a row,
to do this.
he even told us like he wouldn't grace us with his appearance if there was someone he didn't know here. So this is pretty cool.
This
Either
is
you've had an
special.
Wait,
encounter with Frank
you know,
before.
you know Frank?
Apparently.
The note says, why do dogs always race to the door when the doorbell rings?
I don't know.
It's almost never for them.
Oh, Frank.
Frank, you delusional. Psycho. This is a funny joke.
Dude, that's pretty good.
Are you serious?
Better than your stupid joke.
Are you out of your mind?
No.
Mine is so much better.
Absolutely not. Austin, which one is better, that one or Jude's?
Which one of Jude's?
The bad one. The airhead one.
No, Jude's is better.
Mine is so much
Jude's
better.
better.
Wait a minute, I don't even get the joke.
Are you serious?
It's just like, hey, why is it? It's not.
No, listen. Hey, why do dogs always race to the door when the doorbell rings?
Yeah.
It's almost never for them. It was all in how you read it. You read it very
It's a
clinically.
Seinfeld joke? I thought it was a layup punchline.
No, it's supposed to be, you waited for Levi over here to go, I don't know.
I didn't know it was observational comedy. I thought it was a joke and then a punchline.
Yeah, it needs to be.
Frank, you're terrible.
Why do dogs always race to the door when the doorbell rings? It's almost never for them.
A ghost hands you a letter.
What I found
in
funny
this
was Jerry's reaction.
What, did I laugh?
Hard he was laughing at this horrible joke.
Dude, it's a great joke. Are you kidding me? It's such a good joke.
He's just
Dude, it's so funny.
Dude, my joke.
If Jude had read it correctly, you think it would have been funnier?
Can
Still the Airheads one.
Can
I think still the
Dude, the
Airheads
Airheads one is much funnier.
What's Jude's
The
joke?
funniest thing
Jude.
about both of them is your
Jude, what's the
reaction
Airhead
to
joke?
Oh, an Airheads joke? Shoot. Frank wrote on the back of this one? Wow. I think the slogan, first they're sour, then they're sweet, is a great catchphrase for Airheads.
No, hang on. It was funny that time. You know why? What? Jude delivered. It was funny that time.
That's what I do.
You delivered that.
That's what I do.
Wait.
Every time before this that you said it, it was always
I
like,
raised it to you in the car in an act of like, hey, let me run this by my comedically inclined brethren.
But you said it like this. You were like,
funnier
Say
thing
it one more time. I
about
missed something. I don't.
when I
get it.
first heard it
you were performing.
was
that.
Jerry's reaction.
All I said was it wasn't funny.
No, the initial reaction that you were telling us that you had to him telling the joke.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
what made it so much funnier.
Yeah, it was just dead.
So what you're saying is I'm funny and Jude's not.
I think that's what you're saying.
I'm saying I can more easily laugh at you.
Byron, did you not get the joke?
I didn't get the joke.
That's okay with me.
I think the slogan, first they're sour, then they're sweet, is a great catchphrase for Airheads. Do you get
Yeah,
it?
but what about the candy?
See, that just walks over.
No.
Yeah.
I'm
So
explaining
so
it to
my
Byron.
You're explaining the joke?
My
he didn't
brain
get it.
went full. Oh man.
So
You
Airheads
get
are
it, though,
dumb.
right? It's not a very funny joke.
And
is it?
the slogan exists. It's
No.
for Sour Patch Kids. Isn't it good?
Oh, it's so funny.
It is funny.
It was funny when you said it the first time.
Why don't dogs go to the door? It ain't for them. That is kind of funny. That is pretty funny.
The delivery on that one was better.
Why do dogs always race when the doorbell rings? It's almost never for them.
Here's a question.
Okay.
Austin, do you believe in ghosts?
No.
How dare
Jude,
Yeah.
why do you believe in ghosts?
Okay, that's a loaded question. I don't know why you would say that. I'm the last person that would just. I don't believe in ghosts.
You
I
don't?
want to believe in ghosts.
Well, we talk about Frank all the time.
Frank's different.
Frank exists
Yep.
in our heads.
Uh huh.
Yeah.
I believe that I believe in Frank.
I don't believe that he believes in Frank.
I don't believe in ghosts.
You don't?
No. Says the guy wearing a Ghostbusters shirt. I just realized.
How topical.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
I don't even believe in ghosts. What is it you do for work again?
Well, no, he doesn't believe in them because he already eradicated them.
That's
Yeah.
right.
I don't
Yeah.
believe that any more could exist than the ones I've already destroyed.
Hey. I have an arm out. Oh, that's right. We don't have it. Tim?
What?
What about wizards?
No,
Warlocks.
that's fiction.
No, that's fiction.
Which is yes, wizards no. That's where you
Wizards,
draw the
no.
line.
Have some class, which is definitely real. Byron's a witch.
Wouldn't more class be?
Can I be a
wizards
warlock?
He's not a witch. He's your wife.
You may.
I'm not a witch. I'm your wife. Happening.
The witch trials were terrible.
Was that a topic transition? Or
No, I was just thinking about it. Man,
Just a statement.
every time you think about it, it's just rough.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things in the history of the world that were rough, and that's certainly one of them.
You know, people thought that happened in our Salem. Like,
Yeah, when I was
There's got to be one.
when I was in GCU, they were like, "So, where's everybody from?" And
Oh, they
I was
thought
like,
the
they were like,
Salem
so
witch
how did
trials.
you
LA,
escape
blah,
getting
blah,
burned
blah,
alive?
blah.
Or that?
And then I was like, "Oh, I'm from Salem," and they're like, "Oh, witch trials?" And I'm like,
Nope.
"No, I think that's Massachusetts or something."
We went to Disneyland when I was a kid, and regularly people would be asking, you know, like, "Oh, where are you guys from?" You know, and we'd say Salem, and they'd be like, "Oh, you guys got witches out there, don't you?"
Not anymore.
Yeah. And my dad would be like, "No, Salem, Oregon." Usually people didn't think that Salem, Oregon is where it happened. They knew it was Salem, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
But people don't know that Salem exists.
No.
Salem, Oregon. And
Because
it's the
everybody
capital.
thinks that Portland is the capital.
Yeah.
Because that's the only one that makes any headlines.
And half the time you hear Portland, they're talking about Maine.
No.
Oh, really?
I think the news.
No, actually, I think that
Portland's-
Portland's more.
I hear Portland, Maine all the time.
No, you don't.
Portland, Oregon.
I mean,
Always.
more recently, Portland, Oregon has been way more in the news.
Oh, I thought it was always.
And never for good reasons.
No, but before like 2014, probably.
Yeah, but Jude was like 3 then.
I'm just thinking of podcasts I listen to with comedians. They're always talking about like touring, but I guess they're East Coast. So
Well, they're all East Coast because
I was just saying I hear about Portland, Maine. I'm sorry.
they're always East Coast or California.
I overstepped my bounds.
Yeah.
You did.
Way out of line.
Way out.
How dare you?
Step back. No, they don't let me play with knives after I cut myself on the playground. With
Cut
Jake.
yourself on the playground?
Why were you on the playground?
Do you remember Jacob from
Yeah.
school?
State Farm?
Benjamin.
Benjamin, yeah.
Yeah.
He'd
So
be a fun guest to have sometime.
he'd be awesome.
Dude, I love that.
Somebody from your generation?
Huh?
Somebody. No, I don't mean.
Yeah. From my generation,
Like,
it'd
yeah,
be
the
great.
60s.
Back in the 50s. So we were in the playground, and he's sitting on the swing at where we went to school, and he's cutting an apple. Just cutting it up, and I'm like, "Hey, can I borrow your knife real quick? I need to open something." Like, yeah. Flips out his knife, hands it to me, and I try to cut something. I cut my thumb open.
Oh.
And I had to go up to the teacher, and I'm like, "Hey, I cut my thumb." And they're like, "How'd you cut your thumb?" I was using Jacob's knife.
no.
And we both got almost written up. And
How did you not
the
get
knife got-
Was this middle school or high school?
Huh?
Was this middle school or high school? Or elementary?
This was middle school
Okay.
because we were on the playground.
I feel like if you'd
For-
been
it
in
was
high
lunchtime.
school, you probably would have gotten written up.
Yeah. So we didn't get written up, luckily, but we got really close. And
They
it was
spanked
like,
you, though.
How'd you not know? How'd you not know? And Jacob's like, I was allowed to have him in Germany.
Yeah.
And that was his defense, and it was great. And I'm like, I don't know any better. So
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to.
yeah, that only excuse works so many times for Germany.
his knife got taken away, got given to his parents.
How'd your thumb get cut? It got caught in the slide of Jacob's gun that he brought.
Yeah, exactly.
They let me have them in Germany.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's something. Oh yeah. So I asked you about it earlier. I texted you about it, but you are the only one here amongst us who's at least been involved or is still involved with satellite gaming.
Yeah.
And I was curious if somebody who's like been involved in it, I think pretty much from the beginning, right?
From the beginning,
If
yeah.
you could tell us a little bit about it, because people in the community are only now kind of hearing a little bit about it, but from people who don't know much, i.e. us, because that event is coming up. Now, the event will have probably been long over when this
Will
episode...
have been done.
Yeah, probably weeks ago. But I'm curious if you could talk a little bit about that so that people listening, know more about it.
Yeah, so it's, in a nutshell, it's a gaming outreach ministry, I think is the best way for me to describe it. It started when I was in high school. My youth pastor at the time, Jamie Harris, started it while I was in high school. It started in, I don't know if you guys know where this is, but where the old Bible book house used to be
Oh, yeah.
on Lanet.
Yeah.
Our
I
first
drive by it regularly.
event was in that building.
Dude, I was
Really?
there. I was at that
Really?
event. Yeah.
So first
was
event was
crazy.
in that building. I don't remember how many people ended up showing. I think it was 50 something. But there was like Smash Bros tournament, free gaming.
Just for people listening, so you know, this building
should be condemned.
Yeah.
I think actually might be
my
on the
goodness.
track to be demolished soon.
It's got like at least 3 tarps on the roof right
Yes.
now, like that are probably more structurally integral than the roof itself.
Yeah, probably.
Like it's
and like broken
it's
windows
rough.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's rough.
bad. It's very old and should not be still standing.
yeah.
But yeah, so started in there and started kind of as a way to reach. And Jamie uses this analogy all the time. He uses this story all the time when he explains it. It's kind of like how Pop Warner started. Pop Warner started back when it started, there were kids outside of a warehouse, like vandalizing the warehouse, throwing pebbles, breaking windows, whatever. And the workers, instead of like going to the cops, right, it was like, we're going to give them something to do. So we're going to start football. So they went, and the moral of it, and it's called Pop Warner because they did a whole speaking and no one showed up except for Pop Warner to speak.
Okay.
And he held the attention of the whole like 500, however many kids were there for like a whole day. That's why it's called Pop Warner, is because Pop Warner was the one that spoke and did all of it. But the reason he uses that is because the warehouse managers went to where the kids were. They didn't wait for the kids to come to them. They went to where they were. And Jamie started this because there's a huge population of gamers in middle school and high school who the church isn't going to. The church is expecting them to come to the church. So he started as like, this is a way to go to the kids who aren't being reached, give them an opportunity to play games in a better community than the online gaming community, which is not the greatest, especially depending on what game you're playing. So it was a way to reach those kids, but also give them a positive environment to play in with other people instead of playing in your room or in parents' basement or what have you. And then it just started growing. So multiple community events. When I was in high school, when this started, and I was one of the first volunteers, but also participating in the events.
Right.
Our first big community event that we had, which is like what will have happened
On May 19th.
on May 19th, is essentially it's a couple tournaments, open gaming. I think there's going to be open board games too. But the first couple we did was before Fortnite was a thing. So Overwatch was the big game at the time.
Yeah. Really? Okay.
So there was a Smash Bros tournament, which there's always been Smash Bros with satellite. It's kind of been the main game for satellite gaming. But at the time, it was Overwatch was the big game because it had just released. Everyone was playing it. I was way into it.
Really?
So I was both running the Overwatch tournament as well as playing in the Overwatch tournament.
won.
No, I never won. The
Really?
3 tournaments I played in, I didn't win. But so now they still do community events, a lot of online events because of COVID. They couldn't do community events anymore, especially since I think all the community events except for the first one have taken place at Claggett Creek, which I think is where the one on the 19th is happening.
I think so.
I actually
it's
haven't
happening
looked.
It's happening at a church.
Is it?
It's not
happening
at Claggett
New
Creek?
Hope Foursquare.
Oh, it's happening at New Hope. Yeah. So normally they've happened at Claggett Creek, which was really cool because we're in the school. But from that, because COVID and everything that happened with that, they had to move to a bunch of online stuff, which they still do a ton of online tournaments. Fortnite, I think Apex, Valorant. Not so much Smash Bros. Because Smash Bros. Online is not good.
Yeah. Thanks,
And
Nintendo.
no one wants to do that.
Yeah.
But so that, and they also have after school programs. So they're actually going into the schools, mostly middle schools, but also North and McKay, I know of, and maybe McNary. I can't remember.
Wow.
Because they were in McNary before COVID, and I can't remember if they are still. But so in a bunch of middle schools, at least North and McKay, and it's like, because you're at the public schools, you can't overtly talk about God. Like, you just, they won't let you, and if you do, you probably won't be able to do it anymore. But it was a way of kind of that first point of contact where it's like, one, we're giving gamers a place to go after school instead of going home or getting into trouble. Like, we're giving them that positive, and the volunteers are always like promoting it. And like, if something's happening, if someone's being toxic or bullying or whatever, we call them out, talk to them about it. And for a while, I haven't helped after school programs since they started doing it again after COVID, just because work and such. We would have like this little like 2-minute thing we'd say at the very beginning of each one of like positive attitude, this is why we do this, something like that. And it was a way to do that. And then from there, they've split off. They have something called the Rift, which is essentially a Bible study.
Yeah.
They have an online Rift that they do over Discord, and they have an in-person Rift that they have at their office, which is in the basement of Ikebox, which is an office/hangout spot. They call it the Hub, which essentially, and I don't think they've redone anything since I was down there last, but it's a main room table where they do board games. I think they do D&D. Then they kind of have an offshoot where they have a couch and a big TV for like Smash, and then they have a whole separate room with 6 computers set up that people play League and Valorant and Overwatch on PCs.
Like a LAN room,
Yeah.
kind of.
So it's all set up to where, and the main point of it is bringing together community, like gaming in community. And it's really cool, and it's expanded. Like for me, someone who's been there since the beginning and know it really well, I always like tell people, and they're like, "Oh, what is that?" I'm like, "Oh, it's this and this," because like I'm expecting them to know what it is, especially since like for me, because I've grown it surprises me how people don't know about it in the community because it's also international.
Right.
So Jamie last summer was in South Africa for 3 months at an international sports ministry conference, learning about how to do it, but also speaking on esports and how satellite gaming works, how they do things, to spread that out to hopefully be more international than just Salem. And it's also national. Like I think done stuff in LA. People have asked us about how we kind of started in Boston. So kind of random spots around the country, and then international, South Africa. And then he was invited to go to
Brazil, right?
Brazil for VCT. I don't remember who invited him, but he was invited to go down there for the VCT final. So yeah, it's a gaming ministry focused towards youth, not necessarily towards church youth, but youth in general, aiming at the schools and just giving gamers a community to play games positively in. And if that translates into getting plugged into a youth group or the Rift or a middle school group or high school group, whatever it is, it's the first point of contact essentially to go to the gamers in the community to bring them to wherever they may go.
Well, I think what's really cool is I have heard a lot about it here and there. Like when it first kind of got started, I was always like, oh yeah, that's cool. It's like I just assumed it was like an after school program, but by using video games rather than using traditional sports. And so whenever somebody's asked me about it, and I knew barely anything, I would always be like, oh, I think it's like an after school program, which is kind of what it sounds like. But what I didn't know was that you guys were going, that you're kind of, it seems maybe your mission statement is, is like to go in and where the kids aren't necessarily going to come to you, you're going to them. And so it's like you're looking at that like a mission field, right? Like that's the whole point of missions is like you're taking the love of God, you're taking the gospel to people, right? Yeah. And what's really cool is like, just because of that right there, that is way more in line than I think I mean, I always knew there was some overlap with what we are doing with Christian Influence and what you guys are doing, or what Satellite Gaming is doing. But it's like there's so much more overlap, than I think that both camps think there is. Because if you were to ask Matt, like that was his thing at the very beginning. It was like, well, I'm disjointed and disconnected with my students in a way that I wasn't before because of COVID. And my students and students all over the world are playing video games. And that's all they care about. And he's like, I want them to care about Jesus because they should. And so instead of hoping that I can grasp their attention or I'm hoping that they'll just come to me, he's like, that's not how it works. We're going to go to them. Yeah. And we're all online though, right? Where you guys are actually, which there's, I think, a lot of benefits to that. Because we are regularly finding people that are like, man, I wish I could meet some of you guys and actually hang out. And our goal is, with what we do, if we get them to the Discord, our goal is eventually that they don't need the Discord. Yeah. Eventually they will get discipleship and fellowship at a church, which I would imagine for you guys as well. It's like, well, we want to get these students plugged into churches, right?
Yeah, and a lot of a lot of coming for that is Jamie was a youth pastor, so he has a lot of connections with youth pastors around Salem. So a lot of it is, and I haven't been a part of like the integral workings for a while,
right?
Because I have just school and life got in the way. But when I was interning, I interned with Jamie for a summer, like getting paid. It was actually the summer of COVID, which was really interesting. I didn't do it all, but I was kind of the director of a thing we called Nerd Camp, which was a summer camp, but all online over Discord.
Oh, interesting.
Which was interesting because we had it's like, okay, what do you do? Because you can have sessions, but like, what do you do for like the free time?
Yeah.
So we had sessions, we had workshops where we had people we knew or connections that we had come. So I think we had, there's a guy called Lem who does gametography, really good at it. If you know what gametography is? Taking pictures in video games.
Okay.
Like using the photo mode and taking really cool pictures in.
I love doing that.
So we had someone come and talk at that. We had a game designer. I can't remember who he works for, but a game designer come in and talk about game design. We had a professional Overwatch player. I don't think he plays anymore, but a professional Overwatch player at the time come in and speak about esports and a few other different workshops just about nerddom in general. And then we had our free time was like, don't leave, play video games with people in the Discord.
Yeah.
Which a lot of it was League or Smash or Overwatch. And then we had a section kind of like the group activity or whatever it's called is I, with a couple people who I kind of enlisted from an organization called Love Thy Nerd.
Oh, yeah.
Just kind of like this, but more focused towards adults. Had a couple of them come in and we wrote a one-shot for all of them to go play through in D&D over Discord and like had DMs because there were like 20 people, so we weren't going to do it. But so they were like split up into like five groups of 4, I think is what we had. And they would every day, because it was a 3-day camp, every day they'd play for 2 hours playing through this one shot that we had written out. All of them was going to have the same ending. Yeah. And all of them had like it was a choice at the end, like a moral choice at the end, just to give it a little more meaning than, oh, we're just playing D&D. So yeah, that was fun, but
that's so cool.
That was a rabbit hole. Come back to what I was saying.
You're good.
But because of those connections to different youth leaders, it was like first contact is usually after school programs. It's where we start to get to know the students. As we get to know the students, they start interacting in the Discord. And then from there it was, okay, it normally was the student coming to us and like, I want to get connected somewhere. So then we would point them to the youth leader of the church nearest to them because we had enough connections to where it kind of covered every part of Salem. So that's really how kind of the chain worked, I guess. It was first contact, then as they got to know us, as they got to get to know the Discord, and it was either like, I don't know, I don't want to out them. I'm not going to say that. But it was either through Discord or just conversation in general, where they'd be like, oh, I'm interested in doing a little bit more. So then it was like something like the Rift before the Rift. There was kind of small groups before the Rift, but they were kind of disjointed. But it was like, oh, I want to hang out in the Discord. And it was like, oh, I see how these people interact, and we talk about God on the Discord. Yeah. So it was like, oh, I'm seeing this. I'm interested. I want to get plugged in more. So it was them coming to Jamie or me at the time because I was a prominent leader at the time, or someone else, and be like, I want to get plugged into a church. And then we like, okay, where do you live? Like, what area do you live in? This church would probably work the best because it's 5 minutes from your house. And then most of the time we had enough connections to the youth leaders around that was like, oh, it was, okay, we know this person, here you go. Or we would contact them, was like, hey, we have this student who came through our ministry. If you don't know what our ministry is, this is what it is. Yeah. We want to introduce you to them so they can start going to youth group. So it was kind of using that path to get people in it. It's a little more organized now because they have the Rift, which is a Bible study group. That there's that connection, but I think they also still kind of try to outpour to different youth groups around town.
I think that's wise, probably.
Yeah.
Because especially if you keep growing and the Rift gets to be too big, you kind of do want to, just naturally for obvious reasons.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really interesting. We've done a little bit of that too as a ministry where we get people in a different way. We are both more international and less, I guess, than you guys, because just the nature of it being that it's all online. We have people from all over the world in our Discord, right? And then at the same time, though, you guys have actually like, as leaders, some of the leaders in satellite gaming seemingly have gone into different areas of the world too, right? So we haven't done any of that, but we've had lots of people come through, and we've gotten to plug them into churches. It's just a different situation because there's like, we really are having to spend quite a bit of time kind of vetting churches, right? Yeah. And so Matt has done more of that than I have, but you know, there's been some people I've had the opportunity to talk to, and you know, it's such a cool, exciting world in some ways. Well, the world isn't, but I should say like that this kind of thing is going on now.
Yeah.
And I think that the church should be made aware of it. I think that the overall, I don't think that the Christian church, the modern American church, is super aware of the need for this.
Yeah.
Because if you ask a lot of people that have been going to church for years, they'd be like, oh yeah, after school sports programs, those are great.
Yeah, and you have like Christian sports that's like Upwards and like those things. Like it's an after school program that's Christian. Like that's what it is.
Yeah. And I think that it's just hard for some people to see the idea that like you talk about video games with pretty much anybody that has a good head on their shoulders, and they go like, well, you shouldn't be doing that all the time. You know, just like pretty much anything, you should manage your time well and do more productive things than just play video games all the time. So then just because that truth exists, it's really easy to write off the idea that then these things could also be used for good too, right? And it's like, if somebody asked me about video games, of course I would tell them like, well, yeah, sure, I like to play them. I barely play them at all anymore, but it's like, I would never say do that instead of something more productive.
Yeah.
But I do think that you can't ignore the fact that if there are a group of people that need Jesus, which is everybody, and then there's kids who really need him too, of course, because they're part of everybody, and kids are overwhelmingly doing this thing, or at the very least, if they're not doing that, they are interested enough in it. Yeah. And so it's like, when they're not doing that, maybe they're going off and getting in trouble, like throwing pebbles at warehouses or whatever. You know, it's like, you can go to them. And yeah, I really do believe, I've talked about it we've all talked about it on the podcast before, but that a new mission field now, and I really do think it is a mission field in the same way that like Nate Saint, do you know who Nate Saint is?
No.
Okay, never mind. Every time I bring him up, nobody knows who he is.
I don't know who that is.
I still don't know who that is.
Nate Saint is a missionary, or was a missionary, who was killed. But in the same way that these missionaries were like, hey, we're going to these islands where, you know, the gospel, as far as we are aware, has never been taken.
Yeah.
I think in the same way that people were doing that and still are, the new like island where the gospel is not being taken are these like, because they're like islands. Like, people are off on an island basically on the internet where they never leave their house, and they're able to just get some social interaction, but most of it that they're getting is not good because it's online.
Yeah.
And they are in echo chambers kind of too. And we have to go to them because they're not going to leave those places. Some people do, but it's like, for the most part, either it really leads to a lot of anxiety and depression, and then they just get trapped there, or they're fine. You know, they feel complacent being in these bad places. And I really think, you know, the internet and gaming culture, like that whole space is a spot where, and we use this acronym, but Jesus needs to invade it, right?
Yeah.
Like, we need to see Jesus invade the online space rather than being like, well, we got to get these kids to stop playing video games and get them to go to church. I'm sorry. Like, that's going to happen because miracles happen. But like, that's just not how it works. Like, we are called to go out and make disciples. We're not called to just wait for potential disciples to find us.
His commandment wasn't be patient and wait for them to come to you. And then give them the truth.
Yeah. No, we're called to go out and make disciples. And it's like, if part of that is providing gaming servers online for people to play and talking to them about the gospel while they do it, and also just knowing they're going to play somewhere, but they're playing somewhere safe.
Yeah.
That's run by Christians, or if having a place for people to go after school so they're not going other places and they're getting to play video games, which maybe they don't get the opportunity to do that. Maybe they don't have consoles or whatever, and you give them the opportunity to do that. at a place where they're going to be edified, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I think it's wonderful. So
Yeah, and I think it's important. And like, what was really cool is when we started. Like I said, Jamie was the youth pastor, and when this started, it grew so quickly, so quickly that he was pretty much splitting his time as being a youth pastor at the church, as well as trying to contain what is the growing satellite gaming.
Yeah.
And the church that we went to at the time, church I grew up in, pastor loved it, associate pastor loved it. Like, they were all for it. They're like, take as much time as you need to do satellite gaming stuff. So I mean, he pretty much split his time up until a couple years ago when satellite gaming was big enough to where he was able to do satellite gaming full time.
Yeah.
And now satellite gaming has 2 or 3 other part-time employees.
Wow.
A lot of it is they fundraise their salary essentially. They're
Yeah.
like missionaries who fundraise to pay them for themselves, but satellite gaming does pay a little bit. But yeah, it was really cool, and it's really cool to see like some of the success stories of like. Remember years ago there was a kid who I think he was a middle schooler, but I can't remember exactly, but like he was super involved doing all the after school programs he could, going to every community event, volunteering at community events. And he had, can't remember if it was a teacher or one of his parents or whatever came up to like, before this he would never do extracurricular stuff. Like he would go to school, go home, play video games.
Right.
And then satellite gaming brought him out of that echo chamber, like you said, to a community of like-minded people, but he was also being edified while doing it.
Wow.
To the point where he wanted to volunteer and be a part of all this. And it's happened multiple times where we've brought people who I knew when they first started going to satellite gaming, and have seen their journey from first starting to go to satellite gaming to now they're leaders in satellite gaming. And it's just really cool to see. It's what happens when I've been a part of it for so long. I get to see those students grow, and even students who I was leading while I was a more involved and more prominent leader, as the students that I was like interacting with, and I was the leader. I was a leader that they talked to, and one of the main leaders that they talked to, because I mainly did high school students.
Yeah.
So it's really cool to see that, and like when we go to them, see those students come out of that isolation of going to school, going home, playing video games, going to bed, repeat. And not being involved in the community or being involved in extracurricular stuff, seeing them come out of that and then being involved in extracurricular, coming to after school programs, coming to the community and thriving in the community itself, to the point where they are now leaders in satellite gaming. Or one of the students that we had can't remember if he's the youth pastor or the assistant youth pastor at a church. So it's just really cool to see that. And
wow.
The more I see it, the more I realize like there's a need for it. Like I always knew there was a need for it because I was a gamer, but I was a church kid, so I grew up in that community and had a couple friends from church that we all play video games. But it was also cool because like when we started, we didn't know of any other ministry that was doing this. Like to our knowledge, we were the first ones.
Yeah.
And even to my knowledge, I don't know of how many of them actually have started since we've started, besides Christian Influence. I don't know how many around the country have actually started since us. And I think it's something that's needed.
I think there's a lot less that are doing what you guys are doing than there are doing things similar to what we're doing that are mostly online.
Yeah.
Like I've found in doing this, there are quite a few similar things. I'd say there are a lot that aren't doing it as seriously, but I have found some other ones that are, I think, really believe in the mission and are taking it seriously. But what I found is it's mostly online stuff. Like you mentioned, Love Thy Nerd.
Yeah.
I think that they're great. So Jamie plugged Matt and I into an online group of people that are like all kind of in similar ministries.
Yeah.
That are like on a Zoom call regularly, like that kind of thing. And I was sitting there like so terrified because I was the new guy. Matt was supposed to be there. He couldn't be there. I had to represent Christian Influence at this Zoom meeting. And it's like all these others, as far as I am aware, like titans of industry. Like I'm just like in this Zoom call, like this is a missionary, like in Brazil. Yeah. And then this guy is this. And I'm sitting there like, I don't know who any of these people are, and they're doing introductions. And the guy leading it was not Jamie, it was somebody else. And he just goes, hey, let's start with the new guys. And Jerry, tell us a little bit about yourself. So I got to start the introductions too. And I was like, oh. A few of the people that had already been there did their introductions. But then for the new guys, he was like, do this. And I was like, ugh. So I talked about Christian influence. It was really cool. And then he kept referencing this guy that was going to be there, but was just going to be late. And then in rolls the main streamer from Love Thy Nerd, who I have watched. Like, because I didn't know Love Thy Nerd was anything but a streaming thing.
Oh, yeah,
Mainly like a streamer for a while. I don't know his name.
Is it Bubba?
Yeah, it was Bubba. Yeah. Rolls in, and it's like, I recognize that because he's on his webcam.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Hey, welcome, Bubba from Love Thy Nerd." And it was just like in a weird way, because now I'm kind of plugged into this culture, like Christian gaming and online Christian gaming and stuff like that. I was like, a celebrity rolled in. I was like, I'm so glad I already gave my introduction.
Yeah.
But it was so cool getting to find out that you guys have like kind of worked with them in some ways, right?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. So Love That they do something called LTN Con.
Yeah.
I think this past year was the first one they did in person since the first one they did. Okay. Jamie and I went to the first one they did in Dallas.
Wow, that's cool.
Texas.
And it was, like we flew.
No, they flew to Dallas, Oregon.
Yeah.
Just making sure.
No, yeah, Dallas, Texas. We were in like we hold like a hotel where we had like conference space and the lobby that we used. But yeah, it was like, and Love Thy Nerd is a lot of streaming, a lot of video games, but there are also a lot of board games.
Yeah, that's what I've learned.
So when we went, like they asked us, "Oh, can you run a Mario Kart tournament?" So we ran a Mario Kart tournament. And a lot of it was because it was the first one. It was like learning what they do, learning all of that. I actually got this shirt there from a guy called I'm gonna forget his name, but it was a T-shirt guy, and it was really cool. He had just a bunch of nerdy T-shirts. I have another one from him that's like says, I think he calls himself Awkward. I think. Awkward, like awkward and weird together.
Yeah,
I have
funny.
a shirt that's black, that's like that pink blob right on the front. And it was really cool because they had a couple of those people there, and really cool about these shirts is he was like, pay me what you think it's worth. I was like, that's a lot
grand.
It's a lot of pressure. I was like, I don't want to like overspend because I want to save money, but I also don't want to be like, they're worth $1.
He knows what he's doing.
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely. He knows.
You have to get a special person who's enough of a jerk, kind of, to just be like, all right, here's $5, and take advantage of that system. He knows what he's doing.
Oh no, yeah. I saw his cash box. I was like, he knows exactly what he's doing.
Cool.
But no, it was that, and it was a lot of like we'd have our sessions, and then the rest of it was just building community because it was just like play board games.
That's cool.
And it was like they had like structure where like sign up for this board game. If you win that round of the game, you get the board game.
Whoa,
Which
That's cool.
That's super cool.
Got a board game from that. I didn't win. I think I got second, but a couple there that I actually got to know pretty well while we were there. They already had I can't remember if they already had the game or they didn't really want the game. So they were like, "Do you want this?" I was like, yes. I don't think I've played the game since because it's kind of complicated, and I don't.
Well,
have,
that's how they won because they already had played the game.
Yeah, and I don't have like the friend base or like, oh yeah, I want to learn this really complicated board game for a board game night. I mean, if you guys want to play it,
Absolutely.
it's called Steampunk Racer.
Oh, I've never heard of it.
No,
It's-
I've heard of it. Don't know it.
But yeah, LTN's really cool because it's a lot of what Christian influence, a lot of what satellite gaming does, but it's more geared towards our age and older, to adults. And it's like, and they have their mission trips. Their mission trips are going to Gen Con and PAX East and PAX West, and not like overtly being like Christianity, because there are people at those conferences that do that, and it's not great. But they just go and they represent Christ by living it out. And they go to these places going to nerds who might have not necessarily think about it or might have had a bad interaction with the church based on something, because that's a lot of what happens. And then they just play board games with these people and just kind of represent Christ, and that's how they get a lot of the people on their Discord, is people seeing that join the Discord, and then it's that conversation that happens. I have wanted to go on one of their mission trips for a long time. I just haven't had the timing or the money to do so. And I actually was planning on, I had talked to Bubba about doing it, one of the ones after LTNCon, and then COVID hit.
Yeah.
To the one I was planning on going to was, I think it was PAX West, because it was up in Seattle.
Would have been pretty cool.
Yeah.
That would have been cool. I would love to do some of that kind of stuff. I think it would be so awesome.
Yeah, I definitely want to go eventually to those. I don't have the platform to be like, I'm gonna like, because I think they have a booth now. Like one of the latest ones, they had an LTN booth.
So did they do it without having a booth before? They would just like walk around?
I think so. Yeah, they would like just walk around and play games with people.
Yeah.
Because a lot of it was playing board games. It was just sit down, play games, or play D&D or something like that.
Yeah.
And I think they might have a booth now, but I can't remember. Don't quote me on it. I'm sorry, LTN, if I misquote. But yeah.
Nobody from LTN is probably.
We're gonna get a cease and desist.
In a weird way, I'd be like, they listen to our podcast?
Wow. It's like,
Well, they did
actually
listen to a podcast.
Yeah, that's funny.
But yeah, no, that's another cool organization that does very similar things.
Well, I'm actually really glad that kind of became the body of what we talked about this episode. It was mostly like just getting to hear about what it is that satellite gaming does. And I know you're not as involved as you used to be, but I kind of part of what I wanted to get out of this episode of having you on is for people listening to kind of hear that we have a lot of people that listen who just know Christian influence. And this is like, they were like, oh, this is a thing that's going on. And I think that we are certainly doing some things well, but we're not doing everything that we're trying to do super well, and we want to be doing it better. And there are things that you guys, the satellite gaming has done and is doing a lot better than we are. And I think that's just speaks to the fact that, the church has many different people doing many different things, right? And it takes all of us kind of stepping up and committing to making disciples. But what I wanted for some people to be able to hear is like, there are other people doing similar things to what we talk about a lot. And I hope that inspires some people to kind of get involved in this sort of thing. Because if you are online at all, even if you don't really play a lot of video games, I know within Christian Influence, there's a lot of opportunities for you to get involved. But if you do, like, there are a lot of kids and a lot of people that just need the gospel. And they need like positive social interaction, and that can lead to the gospel. And I think if you're already doing, like, we talk about the verse a lot that says, in all things, do for the glory of God, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, that's a really, really great way for you to take something you're already doing, if you are, like playing video games or just kind of being involved in that culture, and do it for God. Yeah. Because I think for me, when I was in high school, I was always hearing like, well, if you're a Christian, you should be dedicating your life to God, which I 100% agree. You should be doing everything for God. And then what I usually took that to mean in my head was, well, it'd be really nice if I could justify the things I love by saying they're for God. And you kind of lie by just like finding ways to justify it. But that shouldn't be the reason you do something like this, is so that you can do things that you love and feel good about it. But if you do see a need, like, you should be, I don't know, like, I guess what I'm trying to say is, what should be more important to you is serving God. And there are opportunities to serve God every day in basically everything you're doing, unless it's sinning.
Yeah.
And take them, like, do them, and be a productive member of the church. And if what you're already doing has some merit to it, then glorify God with it. And if what you are already doing doesn't, then stop doing it and replace it with something that does. And I think satellite gaming has served as a great example for those of us in Christian Influence as a ministry that's a little further along than we are, and has seen incredible success. And you mentioned earlier some success stories, right? These people that have been these kind of proof of concept situations, right? And we definitely have some of those that we've talked a lot about. And there's one that I would like to talk about on the podcast at some point, but it would take too long today. But like, there have been people who very recently too, for me, who I've been like, you don't understand how much, like, this person was telling me, like, thanking me for providing a place. And, I'm talking to them about how, any good in me is God. Like, don't attribute anything good to me, please. That makes me uncomfortable. And also it's all God. But also, like, they're just being thankful. And I love that. They're being thankful because about this place existing. And I was just like, you don't understand how much more I should be thankful for you, because there are times where I just go, maybe none of this matters. And then a person comes along and you see a radical difference in their life, or a change in their life, or just an answer to prayer for them. And you go, whoa, God is using something that we are doing, and those stories are real. And it's like, if every single hour dedicated to this thing amounted to just that one person saying thank you and saying like, this is important, I need this, and I'm really, really thankful for it, and I want to be a part of it. If it all led to that one person, every bit of it was worth it, right?
Yeah.
Like, and it's incredible. And so yeah, to the people listening, there are more things going on than just Christian Influence, and at different stages in their development in different ways. And find a way to get involved, volunteer in something. If you're local, the community event has already happened. We'll volunteer for it anyway.
Yeah.
No, we have it in our Discord too. We have the satellite gaming event listed there, and I'm hoping some of our people will volunteer. I know that I'm going to be there. I think Levi's going to be there.
I signed up.
There you go. Jude's
I'll
going to
be
be
there.
there. Byron's going to be there.
I'll be there.
You'll be
Also
there.
be there.
No,
If you're
I'm
at the
just kidding.
Fortnite tournament, I'm running it. So
There you go. So if
Any
you
good at Fortnite?
were at the Fortnite tournament, he was running it.
yes, and if it blew up, it's my fault.
Literally and
all
In
his
a
fault.
good way.
In a good way.
Yeah.
in a good way.
It was
That's
blowing
in a
up.
good way. Yeah.
If it blew up in
Either
a
way,
bad
either
way,
way.
it wasn't
The
awesome.
It
Fortnite
was
tournament
my
blew
fault.
up.
I actually have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
yeah.
so here's the thing. I'm in charge of the Fortnite tournament. I haven't played Fortnite in 2 years.
I played it a little
Yeah.
bit more recently than 2 years.
But Jamie was like, hey, you want to be in charge of the Fortnite tournament? I was like, sure. I know how to do that. I've done it before.
Fortnite
but
has
it's like-
minutes of Fortnite.
drastically
So much.
in 6 weeks.
That's true.
So imagine how different it is in 2 years.
Here's the thing. For me to run the tournament, I don't know how to play the game. I just have to make sure other people know how to play the game
There you go.
and make sure nothing goes wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm stoked. I'm so excited for this event because I've admired what satellite gaming has been doing for a while. And I always kind of knew, like, we're very similar. We could do some stuff together.
Yeah.
But I always felt awkward. Like, I don't want them to think that we're copying them and obviously there are a lot of differences between what we do and
Yeah.
what satellite gaming does. And then there's a lot of similarities.
We have a podcast.
We have a podcast. True. That
get
is the
right.
difference.
I have tried to do a satellite gaming podcast,
We
but
talked
there
about
wasn't
it.
the time.
Yeah, I talked to Jamie about it recently, and I'm hoping to have some of them. We're hoping to work together with them in some
Yeah.
way to do something regarding a podcast, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm so excited for that event. I think it's going to be so cool, and I want to just be a part of what satellite gaming is doing, and we'll see what we get to do in the future. But
Yeah, I'm really excited for, and I think it's paramount that like both satellite gaming and Christian Influence continue to and
Yeah.
work together because I mean we've both recognized like this huge leak in like you call it like the mission field, which is this sect of the youth and gaming and this kind of just these personalities that
we get written off.
they get written off and they just get cornered, right? And they get stuck in these corners and stuck with the corner folk, and then they just share corner ideas.
Corner people.
But no, like there's this huge leak where they're literally just like falling out and getting forgotten.
Yeah.
And those satellite gaming and Christian Influence, overlap in certain areas. They're at very clearly in distinct different points of this leak. And so the more we bridge together, I think we help build the net that kind of catches those.
Yeah,
people
that's
that fall
always what
back
I've
out.
seen is we do very similar things, but we kind of target different areas.
Yeah, I
of
think if
that.
you strengthen those areas when you work
Yeah.
together, the areas that you get differently are stronger.
Yeah,
Well,
you're,
the
you're
interesting-
overlapping even more.
And where like satellite gaming is more of an after-school program, it is in schools, and because of that, can't be explicitly Christian in some ways until like kids are involved outside of it, right?
Yeah.
A little bit more. Our name is Christian Influence, right? So we are able to be because we're just online, and we still get a lot of people who aren't Christians, and we tell them like, and there was a bit of a misconception because we recently had a meeting with the people in satellite gaming, and it was like, I think some people sometimes think that they have to be a Christian to be involved in Christian Influence. And even some of the people over at Satellite were wondering that. And I'm glad that I got to clarify that because it was like, no, absolutely not. We tell people right away when they get there, like, you don't have to be a Christian to be here. You don't have to be a Christian to play on our servers, which that's a thing, too, that we do differently is we host a lot of servers.
Yeah.
But we've never hosted a tournament. But, like, don't have to be a Christian to be here. Just play by the rules. And that's it. And then we get an opportunity then to share the gospel with them. Like we have Bible studies and things like that they can get involved in if they choose to, or we will try and get them involved in. But like they do know what they're getting themselves into right away, which is it's a Christian community. And we do get to be explicitly Christian. Explicit's a weird word to use, I guess, but explicitly Christian from the get-go. And so that is one of the ways that we're different. And it's just because we get to do that. But also, I think it's important that I think it's just as important that both the things exist, because we know the world is vehemently opposed to God. Yep. And when you're going out into the world, you're going to find yourselves in situations where you still have to be bold, but like you can't do everything that you'd like to do, or else you won't be able to even do the little bit you're able to do. That was a bit paradoxical, but you understand. But like going into schools, you can't do it with a name like Christian Influence. I would assume. But you can with a name like Satellite Gaming, and you can if you are just like getting kids involved in something good. And then from there, like you still get to see this growth in them, right? Mm-hmm. And it just goes to show too the power of God and what He is capable of doing with the very little that we are capable of doing. And it's incredible. And so I love what Satellite Gaming is doing. I'm so encouraged by it, and I can't wait to continue doing stuff with them. But we are running really late on time. Yeah. We've gone really long.
Very long.
But I do really quick want to get to something that I told, if you're prepared for it. When I texted you earlier, did you bring anything?
To talk about, or the verse?
The verse.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't want you to feel like you prepared for something and we can do it.
Oh.
So if you want to really quick, I want to do this with our guests moving forward. Do you have a favorite Bible verse or passage?
I do. Do you want me to read it, or just, because it's longer, so I can't. I'm not confident that I have it all memorized.
Oh no, yeah. I'm not going to put you on blast. Read it. No, you have to recite it.
No, I have to recite it.
Psalms.
No,
it's the entirety of Psalms.
I just think this is
119.
Because usually, I think so far, all of our guests have been Christians, and I think it would be great to
Maybe
hear.
not Chad.
That's true. Our pastor is not a Christian. No, he absolutely is. I would love to hear one of, or if not your favorite Bible verse, and just like a quick description for why. Because this is something we're going to be doing differently. We haven't done this with guests in the past, and so you get to be the first.
Guest stuff.
Yeah. So one of my, it's been my favorite for a long time, and I think it's still my favorite verse, is 1 Corinthians 13, 1-3, start of the love chapter. Mm-hmm. And I, partly because of when I was first introduced to this passage, was for King and Country song. Can't remember the name of the song.
I think I know what you're
talking
about.
But it's like the song that made them famous.
Yeah.
In the middle of the video, the YouTube video, the music video version of it, is they say this one in the message. So I've learned it in the message. Okay. So I really like the message version of it. And it says, if I speak with human eloquence and angelic ecstasy, but don't love, I'm nothing but the creaking of a rusty gate. If I speak God's word with power, revealing all His mysteries and making everything plain as day, and if I have faith that says to a mountain, jump, and it jumps, but I don't love, I'm nothing. If I give everything I own to the poor and even go to the stake to be burned as a martyr, but I don't love, I've gotten nowhere. So no matter what I say, what I believe, and what I do, I'm bankrupt without love. And I've always liked this because it's that kind of the thing of like, you could be the best person in the world, you could be the best Christian in the world, but if you don't have that love in your heart, then even take it a step further of God is love. So if we don't love, we are not with God. Mm-hmm. You could say you're a Christian, you could be doing all these works, but if you don't have that in your heart, if you don't have God in your heart, if you don't have love in your heart for what you're doing, for the people you're reaching, it ultimately doesn't matter. Because one, if you're doing these things but you're not showing the love of God, it's not going to reach people like it should. And if you're doing these things without love, then you're doing it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
It's not going to have the same effect on other people's lives, because it's just inherently, if you're not showing that love, it's not going to, you could be do something great. Like you could be helping people, helping homeless and whatever, but it's not, and that matters. Like saying like, oh, if you don't have love and you do this really charitable act, it doesn't matter. That's not what I'm saying. But it matters, but it's not going to have the same impact. But it's more of that. It was more of like a self-check for me of like, oh, if I'm doing this thing because I want to feel good, or if I'm doing this thing because I want people to say, oh, he's volunteering, and I don't have that love in my heart, it doesn't matter that I'm doing it for myself. Like I'm doing it for the wrong reason. So it was kind of one of those verses that I learned when I was young, because I can't remember when that song came out, but I was young when that song came out. Yeah. Of like, and it was kind of in that weird age where it was like, grew up in the church, my uncle was the pastor, so I was kind of like bequeathed into volunteering.
Yeah.
It was kind of expected.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're the nephew. How do you want to volunteer?
Yeah. Is it really volunteering at that point?
Voluntold.
It's volunteer.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was kind of like that age where I was like, yeah, I'm volunteering. I'm helping tear down and set up. But like, why am I doing this? Like,
Yeah.
am I doing this because it's expected, or am I doing this because I actually have that love of God in my heart to serve people? And it's something this verse isn't something that, like, when I'm like, kind of what you're saying of like, as long as we reach one person, it's all worth it. In those times where it's been like that drought of like, is me serving actually mattering? I've come back to
Sorry. Did you all hear that?
Yeah.
Who was it?
That was me.
What'd you do?
It was my stomach. It's just like
Scorpions
it did the stomach. Sorry.
Yeah, it's that thing of like, what was my train of thought? Volunteering. Yes, serving. Even now, I come back to it, like, if there's like that period of time where I'm serving and it doesn't feel like it matters, I'll come back to me like, no, I'm doing it because I love God and I love the people I'm serving.
Yeah.
It matters. And eventually you'll see that, but it's the faith of like, as long as I have love, what I'm doing matters.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I think what that verse, you're hitting it, right on the head right there. Like what that verse is saying too is if what you're doing, if you or someone can recognize that what you're doing has no love in it, then it just immediately begs the question, then what are you doing it for? Yeah. Because you are doing it for something. Like it's the thing that's really important to think about too right there is like, we don't do anything for no reason.
Yeah.
And so if you're not doing it out of love, then you need to figure out why you're doing it and then do it out of love.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a really good verse.
I like it.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Very good.
And I think it really fits with what we were talking about.
Yeah.
That was really great.
It's like I planned it.
It's like God planned it.
Yeah.
Yes, there it is.
What's your favorite verse? Well, I'll pick 5, and whichever one seems contextually the best, I'll choose that
We
one.
know how that works.
Yep.
Well, great. Is there anything that we want to quickly touch on before we end this?
Do you like comedy?
Yeah.
Do you know any jokes?
Go.
We like to have our guests tell jokes.
Nope, that's not my kind of
No,
comedy.
hang
I'm
on.
very.
You don't have a choice.
Oh, hang on. You have to.
We will literally
We
sit
have
here
a
until you tell one.
tradition or ritual where at the end of every episode with a guest on it, you have to tell us a joke.
There is a
How long?
skip button.
How long can this joke be?
It can be short. It can be a bad joke.
It could be.
It just has to be a joke.
They usually are.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna tell a
Good
long
jokes.
joke.
Oh.
How long is long? Like 5 minutes?
No, it won't be.
I'm
that
gonna
long.
make you guys sit
I'll,
through an
I'll make
hour
it.
long.
I'll make it quick.
Okay.
It's
Do
been
it.
told to
Go.
me in a very long version. Okay, so once upon a time there was a horse. He was sitting at home watching MTV, as you do, as horses do.
Obviously.
And he was like, saw a music video. He was like, I want to do that. I want to learn how to sing and play guitar. So he got on, looked in the phone book. That might be a little bit of a data reference. But looked in the phone book for music instructors, found one, and he called him. He's like, hey, I want to learn how to sing and play guitar. There's no problem. I'm a horse. And the musician was like, oh, it's great. We just developed this technology that allows horses to sing and play guitar. So he goes, he learns how to play and sing guitar, gets pretty good at it. And he's like, what is this missing? It's missing drums. Calls up his friend, the chicken. It's like, hey, I'm gonna show you this music video, and I think you would be a really good drummer. Shows it. The chicken's like, yeah, I want to do drums, but only problem is I'm a chicken. Well, he's like, let me call the place that taught me, and maybe they have something for you too. Calls them, and they're like, oh yeah, we just invented this technology that allows chickens to play drums. So they get a drummer. Sounded really good, but they were still like, it's still missing something. You know, we need a bassist. So they call their friend the cow. Same thing. Oh, I'm a cow. I can't play bass. I have hooves. I don't have fingers. Call the same place. Oh yeah, we just invented this technology that allows cows to play bass. So they do this. They start playing music together, and eventually someone films them, and they catch their big break. They get a record deal. Start doing tours and all that, and then one tour, as they're about to leave, the horse has to go home because his mom is sick. So horse goes home, and tragedy strikes while he's gone. Their plane crashes, and all of his bandmates die. So he's sad. He goes to the local barn to get some milk, and the bartender asks, why the long face? You're welcome.
It's funny only on the merit of the fact of proportionally to how
funny it
disappointed
is.
I am.
Well, yeah, that too. How funny it is.
Yeah.
See, it's even funnier. I sped it up a lot. I
Yeah.
have sat through a 5-minute version of that joke.
Oh, it hurts.
So that's painful.
No, it still hurts though. Well,
At the Mexico talent show, somebody told that joke.
yeah.
Just about the 3-minute version.
It's because I don't know who it was, but someone on who went when I was younger told me that joke.
Yeah. The person I was sitting next to, as soon as they finished, they turned to me and they were like, man, I would have loved if it just ended after everyone died. How funny would that joke be if it would have tragedy stuck while he was in his parents and the plane with all his band members on it died at the end?
So that's kind of like, I was gonna say, I've told a similar joke on the podcast before where Jude put me on the spot and made me tell one.
That's
and
right.
It's a long. And then
But Jerry's wasn't funny.
But Jerry's wasn't funny.
You know what? Many people, everybody's told me that
Everybody
joke.
tells me.
Everybody tells me that joke was really funny.
The ketchup one?
Yes. I won't tell it.
I wonder how many people are going to say this one's funny.
Probably
None, because
very
you
few.
read it like a moron.
Why do dogs always race to the door when the doorbell rings? It's almost never for them.
Okay, you read it like a moron. You know what? Norm Macdonald is rolling over in his grave. You're a comedic
bet.
hero. Is
I
rolling
bet.
over in his grave.
I bet.
Rolling over in laughter because of how much you were laughing at the joke.
Exactly, because he's funny, and Jude adores him and didn't think it was funny.
I
All
do
right,
adore him.
we're done with this. Thanks, everybody. You know what, Austin? Thank you for being here. I really
my
appreciate
pleasure.
it.
Thank
I have
you
a
for having me.
cool- Yeah, you're welcome. I have a great idea based on some
You're
things-
welcome.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. You are so welcome. I'm really glad that you were here. It was a great discussion. I wish we'd talked more in high school.
Playing bumper pool in high school with you was like a...
That might
I've
be
told
the
you this.
only thing
Yeah,
I've
you
done
told me
with
that.
you in high school was the 2 times we played bumper pool together.
Yeah, and we kind of did plays together, but
Yeah,
kind of.
kind
Yeah.
of.
Yeah.
We were like in the same like gymnasium.
Yeah,
We
'cause
breathed the same air.
I was in our town.
You were? You were?
Yeah, I was
You were in our
the
town?
constable and the
Yes, right.
Yeah.
and the grave what do you call it?
Mortician?
Mortician.
That's right.
And then I did lights for Papa Was a Preacher.
Oh, lights.
I don't know what, you said you've listened to some of the podcasts. I don't know which ones you've listened to, but we did a cold reading of something out of Papa Was a Preacher. In one
Did
episode.
you?
It was so fun.
It was
so
great.
fun. It was the, you remember the buzzard lope scene?
Yeah.
The dance where I walk in after they're dancing. I'm like,
Yeah.
hey boys. Yeah, we read that one.
Nice.
So funny. And Jude edited it together.
It's pretty... The edit is pretty funny, actually.
Did you have another scorpion?
Yeah, I got a piece of it stuck in my throat.
He added some really funny sound effects into it. I'll try and find it for you so you can listen to it. It's so funny. But all right, we're really, really long into this. I'm definitely going to have to cut some of this out and it's going to go straight to Patreon, but that's okay. Thank you for being here, Austin, and thank you for listening. Listeners, we love you very much.
Jude's dying.
I end the program by saying, you've made this day a special day by just your being you. There's no person in the whole world like you, and I like you just the way you are.
That's a good one.